Welcome to the Bookies Plus weekly betting show where you'll get free NFL picks for the conference championship playoff weekend from 4 of our gambling experts. Now, remember, you can also get the free picks on bookies.com/picks. And it's not just NFL picks. Pretty much whatever sport you're into, we've got you covered. Don't forget that we'll have a new episode during Super Bowl week. We'll alert you to that. Check the Bookies X feed, and you'll know when that show is coming up. We're going to have picks from Bill Speros, the senior betting analyst at bookies.com. We got Adam Thompson, the ATM, one of the nation's premier handicappers, over 60% NFL the last few years. You got Nick Whalen, in the industry over a decade, NBA, NFL. You know him from RotoWire, Visa, and DraftKings. And I'm Jim Coventry. All right, fellas, let's get to the picks here. So we're all obviously 2 games, so real simple here. But Adam is on the Eagles side, so we'll start with Adam, and then the 3 of us are on the other side, so we'll talk Commanders. Adam, you get the lead.
Familiar from last week when I was the only person on the Commanders side and everybody faded me to oblivion. Now I'm jumping off the bandwagon as everybody else is jumping on. And I really like the Commanders, but the Eagles have just been kind of that team. Jalen Hurts, there's concern about his knee. There's concern about his mobility, about the ability to get out of the way. But I think there's a lot of concern on the other side for a Washington defense that has struggled to stop the run, that hasn't stopped Saquon Barkley. They're not going to, the Eagles aren't going to pass the ball if you don't make them pass the ball. And everybody knows that. And Washington has failed to make them pass the ball in 2 previous meetings. I think they're healthier on the defensive end. They've given up just 16 points per game at home all season. Washington, kudos to them for getting here. I thought Jaden Daniels could do something against that Detroit defense, but Jared Goff really helped them out. 5 turnovers in that game. They scored a lot of points off those turnovers. Jalen Hurts has 1 interception since week 3. He does not, he's not going to give it away like Jared Goff did. So -6, I liked it better when it was -5.5. I didn't get on it. It's going up to -6.5. It's bouncing around. So I'll take -6 right now. And I think Philly moves on.
Bill Speros, counterpoint.
Well, again, it's always tough to counter Adam. But I am concerned about Jalen Hurts. I am concerned about the 6-point line, which is really why I like Washington here. There's a lot of arrows pointing toward the Eagles for sure. One that sort of became an issue last week with the Chiefs was in this game, you have Sean Hockley as the lead ref. He calls a lot of penalties. And the home team has won 62% of the games that he's reffed. So, again, there's a lot of strong arguments for the Eagles winning this game. To me, the issue is the cover. Their offense, I know Saquon is totaled 296 yards in the 2 games against Washington this year. I'm going to give Dan Quinn the benefit of the doubt that for the third, by the 3rd time he faces them, he might have it figured out. At least when it comes to keeping him out of the end zone, maybe try to limit those 40-yard runs. But I find it hard to see the Eagles covering this one, just because they're really not going to score. They're not going to overpower you, by big plays unless Saquon breaks loose. And Jaden Daniels, man, this guy, he is something special. And as far, I know rookie QBs are terrible in championship games, but I don't think he's going to make the mistake that will cost the Commanders at least the cover, if not the game, where you might see that with other rookie QBs. So I just like Washington here on this line. I mean, it's a touchdown. And again, the Eagles, I mean, I've heard their offense booed the last 2 weeks, even though they've won. So I just don't feel good about them right now.
Nick Whalen, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief, guys. We should mention it's up to 6.5 now. So if you do like Washington, try to go grab that number. It's a pretty big movement from the earlier opening number. But I think Bill said it well. I mean, I think Philly wins this game. I just don't know if they win it by, a touchdown minus the extra point. I think it's a Philly team that continues to get by, with a heavy rushing attack. Jalen Hurts, not really putting the ball in the air. And, Washington is a team that for the most part doesn't really turn the ball over. They beat the Eagles in the last meeting despite 5 turnovers. Now, of course, Jalen Hurts went out on the first possession. So, take that with a grain of salt. But Washington has a 6-0 turnover advantage through these first 2 games of the postseason. And obviously 5-0 last week against Detroit. So again, I don't necessarily think Washington wins this game, but I don't think they commit enough mistakes to allow Philly to completely run away.
Yeah, and again, I won't go long on it either. I do think the Eagles win this game. That 6-point line, it just looked very big for a team that often doesn't win by big numbers. They've had games where they crushed Pittsburgh, I get it, and obviously Dallas is Dallas. But at the end of the day, Fangio's defenses in the end of a game will tend to play soft. They'll go to that prevent look, and that worries me because I remember when they played in Week 11, man, Washington, they were down 16. They came down with an 8-point play, touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. But it was just that whole point that they, after being shut down completely, they were allowed to walk down the field. So if Philly gets a lead, I just think there's going to be a backdoor cover involved. Other than that, I love the fact that Jalen Carter is going to be up against a really bad interior. Sam Cosmi, who was a really good interior blocker for Washington, unfortunately tore his ACL last week. And it's going to be a great day for Jalen Carter, but I just think it's a lot of points. But Adam, I totally get where you're going with that because the Eagles are going to win this game. It's just a matter of how much they win by. Any other comments? We all got that game covered.
I would say the one thing that really concerned me about Philly is the coaching, because I think Washington has the advantage, and the quarterback, because Jaden Daniels is playing way better than Jalen Hurts and is capable of doing more. And to your point, they played a little soft in that one, the first game. And then the second game, they were up 27-14 going into the fourth quarter. Started going after Daniels, and that didn't work. So he may not have an answer for Jaden Daniels, or he may still be trying to come up with one. But I think you're right as far as that interior line matchup goes. Washington lost a key part, and this is not the team you want to lose a key part of your interior line against.
Nope, Jalen Carter is a beast. All right, let's go to the other game. So Bill and Adam are going to take the Bills side. Then Nick and myself will take the Chiefs side. Bill, why don't you kick us off?
Josh Allen, save us. There is all the reason in the world to back the Chiefs in this game. Reason 1 through 750 is the fact that now Taylor Swift is teamed up with Caitlin Clark in the luxury box. I'm not sure Roger Goodell has wanted anything more in his life than the Chiefs going for a three-peat with Caitlin Clark and Taylor Swift cheering them on. With that being said, Josh Allen is having a special year, and I know we all know they're 0-3 against the Chiefs. In the playoffs. We know Allen's, always sort of falling short, but he's just got something different going on this year. Not to mention the Bills defense, which, doesn't get a lot of love here. They played that game, week 13, Buffalo won. I know I'm not going to go crazy over the fact that they won. But the most interesting part of that game was that Buffalo held Kansas City to 7 points in the second half and only 259 total yards. So, if Buffalo were to somehow get a lead here, and we saw that the Ravens shut down Isaiah Pacheco, and frankly, you take out Mahomes' miracle pass to Kelsey, and give me one of those two fake roughing the quarterback calls, and they might not even beat Houston. So I just think the Bills are playing so well, and the Chiefs have, they've had that year where it's been magic and, duct tape and paper clips and staples and boink field goals and all that. But the Bills are just too deep this time. They've made all the mistakes that they made, 13 seconds and all that. I just think despite the immense effort of Park Avenue to push Kansas City over the top, I think the Bills are just too good here. And taking the points, why not? And if they were to lose by 1, at least you get the cover. If, Goodell makes a call and says, hey, this must not stand. and it's a 1-point game. At least that's why I love 1.5 here, because that takes into effect the Taylor Swift, Caitlin Clark, Roger Goodell referee quadaxis, whatever the 4-letter word for axis is for entities. So that takes that gives the Chiefs a 1-point miracle victory, but gives the Bills the cover.
Adam, go ahead. Same side.
Yeah, tough to follow. Josh Allen, he's almost defense proof at this point. He had well over 300 yards of total offense against this Chiefs defense the first time they faced off. And the Chiefs D, they're kind of, it kind of starts with their front, but they've given up over 150 yards rushing each of the last 3 games. The offense, Patrick Mahomes has not had that good a year. He's gotten by on guile in a lot of cases, which has been good enough because he's as good as it gets when it comes to that kind of stuff. But last week against the Texans, they barely averaged 4 yards per play. That's not good, and that's not going to cut it against most teams like the Bills. If they would have faced the Ravens here, I think that would have been trouble too. So yeah, I like Buffalo. They've scored 30 plus points 14 times this season. They've only gotten really beaten badly once, and that was 35-10 to a Ravens team way earlier in the season who they just beat to get here. So the improvement is tangible. Josh Allen is that guy, and it seems like from a career progression standpoint, this is the perfect time for him to kind of take that next step.
Of course, if you ask Myles Garrett, the only who could beat the Ravens is the Ravens, but did the Bills beat the Ravens or the Ravens beat the Ravens? Just having fun with that. Nick Whalen, we're on the other side. Why don't you kick us off here?
Well, I think you start with an interesting point here, which is, Buffalo to me is not necessarily riding like this massive wave of momentum into this game. I thought the Ravens beat the Ravens last week. This was not a Josh Allen, superhuman game by any means. I mean, Buffalo basically just had to stay out of their own way and, allow Baltimore to make those mistakes. It's kind of the same way that Kansas City has been winning games all season. And I think this game will come down to turnovers. These are 2 of the lowest turnover teams in the NFL. KC has not committed a single turnover since week 11. Buffalo has like a historically low turnover rate on the year. I think under 5% of their possessions have resulted in turnovers. So if we get one turnover one way or the other, I think that's going to swing it. I still think, Kansas City playing at home here, we've seen this so many times. I think they're the team I trust more to generate that turnover. They're the team to come through. Almost certainly this game will come down to the final couple possessions in the fourth quarter. And when it's 3rd and 4 at midfield and the Chiefs need that first down to get into field goal range and win this game, we have seen it too many times. I am not betting against Patrick Mahomes. I've done that too many times. I've lost too many times. It's hard to mount a case for why the Chiefs are the better team. I don't actually think they're the better team. I think Buffalo is better.
Right.
But I'm not getting burned by Patrick Mahomes again.
Man, the boogeyman isn't back. That's the thing. Patrick Mahomes, it's like when Michael Jordan played back in the day in basketball. It was like whoever played him, good luck. You're done. You don't have a chance because he's on the other side. The Bulls may not have always had better teams, and that's been the case with Mahomes. They don't always have the better team, but they always find a way to win. It's the weakest analysis I'll give, but I will say a couple things analysis-wise on this game. Yes, the Bills have been very good at running the ball this year, and they do try to drain clock. But I noticed last year when these teams played in the playoffs, James Cook had a great first half. And then Buffalo realized, they want to run a James Cook. Cook couldn't move in the second half. It cost them the game because they kept punt. Well, what happened this year when they played? It was only 9 carries for 20 yards. He got 2 touchdowns, 5 catches, 7 yards. So it was like Kansas City understood with Steve Spagnuolo the reason that you take away James Cook, because that's what the offense wants to do now. They really want to make it an offense about that, and then Josh Allen works off of that. The other problem is who's going to beat them in the passing game from the receiver standpoint. In the last matchup, Jalen Watson was out on the injured reserve, and Najee Johnson was on the outside, and Amari Cooper burned him on 2 deep passes. Well, Watson's back, so there's that. And then I imagine Trent McDuffie is just going to move into the slot and just take out Khalil Shakir. McDuffie is that level of corner. And then Keon Coleman, is he going to beat you? Dalton Kincaid, who has a 53% catch rate, is he going to beat you? So it's like, what's left? And when Mahomes has the ball, I could be a million miles off on this, but in the back of my mind, I think Andy Reid knew they were beating Houston. And I really believe, they didn't want to challenge the corners. I think he kind of shelved Hollywood Brown because I think he has a plan for him when he knew the chips were down, because Hollywood Brown adds an element to this offense that the Bills haven't seen. They haven't unleashed him at all. This is the game where they're going to need him. This is where signing him is going to be a big deal because he is a zone breaker with a speed in the middle of the field. And I think Andy Reid, between Worthy, who had a good game against him last time, and then, of course, playoff Kelsey, I'm going to ride Mahomes here. All right. Any other words in that game that somebody wanted to counter back with?
The Chiefs are 11-8-1 against the spread with Taylor Swift in attendance, and they're 8-10 against the spread this year overall. They've taken a lot of money from a lot of people. They
certainly have. All right, let's go to our closing thoughts here. Why don't we start with Bill Speros? Closing thoughts this week.
Week 0 is in 213 days. As expected, Ohio State won and covered Monday night. It'll be, interesting next college football season to see what the landscape is going to look like. Using that same line in the NFL, obviously next year, you're going to see a lot of new coaches, a lot of new teams, and you might see a team like the Patriots with the completely new coaching staff and presumably spending money this offseason. They might actually end up, being like a 7-10 or 8-9 or 9-8 team next season. So it'll be really exciting, heading into free agency and the draft to see what these teams with new coaches are going to do.
Adam Thompson, closing thoughts.
I thought this was maybe two of the toughest games to really break down and really find a side. These numbers were both pretty much exactly where I thought they should be. I found no edge in either case. But I do like the over in the NFC Championship game. I think both teams are going to find ways to score. And I lean under on the AFC Championship game. I think both defenses will have something in store as well.
Nick Whalen, closing thoughts.
I'm going to use my time to just hand out a couple props for that Chiefs and Bills game. Josh Allen, over 30.5 pass attempts. He's thrown the ball 39 and 40 times in the last two matchups against Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes, over 4.5 rush attempts. He's gone over that in 5 of his last 6 playoff games. Seems like a really low number to me. Buffalo, by the way, bottom 5 in yards per carry allowed to quarterbacks this season.
And you know what? Let me give a couple props on my way out the door, too. Austin Eckler, 4+ receptions. In that first meeting in week 11, he caught 8 passes for 89 yards. The second game, Eckler was on IR, and the game kind of went off script. But the way Philly and Fangio approached that first game when they had a lot of success, basically they took away the receivers, they gave them the screens, they gave them the tight end. Again, the Vic Fangio credo, no explosive plays. Now, Austin Eckler did break a couple, with some bad tackling, but I still think those are going to be there all day for them. And I think Eckler easily catches the 4 passes. And then, of course, Travis Kelce, the anytime touchdown. It's like plus 125 on DraftKings. And I could move a little bit, but it's plus money. In the last 3 playoff games, the only 3 playoff games he's had against the Bills, he scored 5 touchdowns. He scored in every game, and he scored multiples twice. And you just have to think in this game. I know Matt Milano played well last week, but he hasn't been the same guy since coming back from injury. The defense is going to be concerned with Xavier Worthy and Marquise Brown's speed. And at the end of the day, Kelce always finds a way in the end zone to get it done. And so I like that one as well. All right, everybody, you'll see, recap our picks here. You'll see that Adam went with the Eagles. The other 3 of us went with the Commanders, although we all think, if I'm correctly, the Eagles will win this game. And then we were split on the Chiefs-Bills game. 2 of us went with Chiefs, and 2 of us went with the Buffalo Bills. Enjoy the games. This has been the Bookies Plus weekly gambling show. Make sure you bookmark bookies.com/picks so you can check our free picks for the NFL and other sports. We'll have a new show before the Super Bowl. Check Bookies, Twitter, or X to see when that show is going to be, but it will join us then. Everybody be profitable and have a great week.